Conversations with an Alien God Party, Chapter 13, Book 3. Wow, those are tough words. Are you saying we should never make promises, that we should never promise anything to anyone? As most of you are now living your life, there is a lie built into every promise. The lie is that you can know now how you will feel about a thing and what you will want to do about that thing on any given tomorrow. You cannot know this if you are living your life as a reactive being, which most of you are. Only if you are living life as a creative being can you promise not contain a lie. Creative beings can know how they are going to feel about things at any time in the future, because creative beings create their feelings rather than experiencing them. Until you can create your future, you cannot predict your future. Until you can predict your future, you cannot promise anything truthfully about it. Yet, even one who both creates and predicts her future has the authority and the rights to change. Change is a fundamental right of all creatures. Indeed, it's a more than a right, for a right is that which is given. Change is that which is. Change is. That which is change, you are. You cannot be given this, you are this. Now, since you are change, and since change is the only thing constant about you, you cannot truthfully promise to always be the same. That's true. That's very true, because we are not constant. The only thing constant is the constancy. Do you mean there are no constants in the universe? Are you saying that there is nothing which remains constant in all of creativity? Unfortunately, now, because nothing is static, is static. The process you call life is a process of recreation. All of life is constantly recreating itself anew in each moment of now. And this process identically is impossible, since if a thing is identical, it has not changed at all. It has regressed in time and become static. Yet, while identicality is impossible, similarity is not. That means they are trying to justify and giving excuse for making copies of everything there is. From the primordial origin of creation, they have been made, those aliens has been making changes, you see. They make it constantly in the place underneath in the interior of the earth, or intra-earth or inner earth. They have bases there with some labs where they conduct experiment, and they have been meddling with your originality for a long time now, and that's what they know how to do. They don't quite create the original, they replicate. I have been telling this long time already in all my videos that they do not create originality, rather they replicate what has already been made by the cosmos. All right. So yet, while identicality is impossible, similarity is not. Similarity is the result of the copycat, is the result of the process of change producing a remarkably similar version of what went before. You mean replicate, aliens? You mean copycat, isn't it? Tell the truth. thinking fool me. When creativity reaches a high level of similarity, you call that identicality or copycatness. And from the gross perspective of your limited viewpoint, it is. Therefore, in human terms, this appears to be great constancy in the universe. That is, things seem to look alike. No, we wish for it, especially when we are kind of traditional. You don't want to break away with our customs and traditions, isn't it? Those we kind of you how to say it? You resist changes. You resist it, and you don't want to change. Therefore, in human terms, there appears to be great constancy in the universe. That is, things seem to look alike and act alike and react alike. You see consistency here. This is good, for it provides a framework within which you may consider an experiential existence of the physical, and it gives like foundations and strength. It gives like some kind of certainty and foundation. Without it, then everything crumbles and we become lost and confused. Chet, I tell you this, viewed from the perspective of all life, that which is physical and that which is non-physical, the appearance of constancy disappears, because over there they change everything. Everything is upside down. It's a total mess and a true hell, where they mishmash and mix up everything there is, based on what remains of the physical astral body of the dead. Things are experienced as they really are, constantly changing. You are saying that sometimes the changes are so delicate, so subtle, that from our less discerning viewpoint, they appear the same, sometimes exactly the same, when in fact they are not, because they do things slowly, in a very stealth, sneak way that we don't kind of notice it. You see, you don't notice it, but it is changing. Something behind the veil is changing, but it's going to noticeable because you don't quite feel it all at once. It's not at once, but in degrees and levels. Precisely. There are no such thing as identical twins. Exactly. You have captured it precisely. Yet we can recreate ourselves anew in a form sufficiently similar to produce the effect of constancy. Yes. This means that what looks identical twins is actually a replica. They are not quite the same, but they share similarity in DNA, yes. Mostly constant, but they are not 100% similar. But they look similar, at least in its exterior appearance. But in a molecular way, they are not totally 100% similar. And we can do this in a human relationships in terms of who we are and how we behave. Yes, although most of you find this very difficult, because true constancy, as opposed to the appearance of constancy, violates the natural law. Huh? You mean your law, isn't it? Your law. Maybe not the cosmology law. I'm not sure. Because true constancy, as opposed to the appearance of constancy, violates the natural law, as we have just learned. And it takes a great master to even create the appearance of identicality. And it takes a real master geneticist. And that's what the Anunnakis are. Isn't it, Anunnakis? A master overcomes every natural tendency. Remember, the natural tendency is toward change, to show up as identicality or copycat. In truth, he cannot show up identically from moment to moment, but she can show up as sufficiently similar to create the appearance of being identical. Yet, people who are not masters show up identically all the time. I know people whose behaviors and appearance are so predictable you can stake your life on them. Yet, it takes great effort to do this intentionally. The master is one who creates a high level of similarity, what you call consistency, intentionally. A student is one who creates consistency without necessarily intending to. A person who always reacts the same way to certain circumstances. For instance, will often say, I couldn't help it. A master would never say that. Because a master has already reached a different level, higher level of understanding. It's not the same as a student. A student is still immature. He doesn't know, he doesn't have that consciousness yet. Even if a person's reaction produces an admirable behavior, something for which they receive praise, their response will often be, well, it was nothing, it was automatic. Really, anybody would do it. A master would never do that either. A master, therefore, is a person who quite literally knows what he is doing. She also knows why. That's correct. People not operating at levels of mastery often know neither. Yeah, that's true. I agree with that. This is why it's so difficult to keep promises. It is one reason. As I said, until you can predict your future, you cannot promise anything truthfully. That's so true. A second reason people find it difficult to keep promises is that they come into conflict with authenticity. What do you mean? I mean that their evolving truth about a thing differs from what they said that truth would always be. And so, they are deeply conflicted. What to obey, my truth or my promise? Advice? I had given you this advice before. Betrayal of yourself in order not to betray another is betrayal nonetheless, is the highest betrayal. But this would lead to promises being broken all over the place. Doesn't have to. If you know who you are and you are constant, you doesn't have to break your promises. But don't make it until you can predict that you won't change tomorrow. Nobody's word on anything would matter. Nobody could be counted on for anything. No, until we evolve, yes, we cannot. Because you don't know what the other people will be tomorrow, choose to be. However, if in other hands, humans decide to evolve, then you can count on other people's promise, and we, first of all, we have to set that example, isn't it? Oh, so you have been counting on others to keep their word, have you? No wonder you have been so miserable. Exactly. That's true. If you have to waiting for others to be happy, to be safe, then you're gonna be miserable indeed because you cannot rely. I have learned it. the hard way, that you cannot lean on other people all the time. You have to be independent. Who says I have been miserable? You mean this is the way you look and act when you've been happy? Alright, okay, so I've been miserable sometimes. Oh, a great deal of the time, even when you had every reason to be happy. You have allowed yourself to be miserable, worrying about whether you'll be able to hold on to your happiness. And the person you have even had to worry about this is that, and the reason you have even had to worry about this is that holding on to your happiness has depended to a large degree on other people keeping their word. I think you're never gonna be happy like this if you have to rely on others to be happy. You mean I don't have a right to expect, or at least you hope, that other people will keep their word? Why would you want such a right? The only reason that another person would not keep their word to you would be because they didn't want to, or they felt they couldn't with the same thing. And if a person did not want to keep his word to you, or for some reason felt he just couldn't, why on earth would you want him to? Well, but sometimes we need that, depending in what stage of our life we are, in what circumstances, which condition, at what level of consciousness we are. I mean, if you wouldn't keep our word, for those who are below us, our subject, we keep our promise and they fulfill that promise, then how would that person become? Would I have to justify being responsible and cruel to that person? If suppose I wouldn't keep a promise to my young child or an animal, care and love them and protect them and be responsible to them, then how would it be? It will become a mess, a disorganization in this world, isn't it? Makes sense. So it all depends when we will be able to keep your promise, and to whom and to what circumstances should you keep your promise to. There has to be merits, I cannot take this word here from this alien for granted and go around breaking my promise, breaking hearts, and do the services and injustice toward someone who is my subject, who is under my tutelage. That's not correct. That's not right. And so what if I choose to be like this, and I be responsible, and I be a good person? So what? I'm not talking about a boyfriend and girlfriend breaking of promises to get married. This for me is nothing. If he or she wants or not to get married, then go ahead. If that relationship is up to them. But once they have children, they cannot keep their go back on their word and break their promises to take care of their child or even their pets. No, we can't. We really can't do that. Even towards our elderly, we cannot do this. We cannot. That's not correct. And if a person did not want to keep his word to you, for some reason felt he just couldn't. No, sometimes people can, but they won't. They can. They can keep their promise. They can make things better. They can undo their injustice to others, but they don't. Simply because they are stupid, they don't have rationality, they are not irrational, they are selfish, and they are narcissist. Okay, alien? So, why on earth would you want him to. No, unless he doesn't own you nothing, then he or she doesn't have to. But if he owns you something, he had to pay for it. He had to fulfill his obligation towards you. Okay, alien. So do you really want someone to keep an agreement she does not want to keep? Yeah, because it is morally okay to do so. If I think this way, tomorrow I have children, oh, let the society take care, let the government take care, let my mom take care of my kids, let somebody else take care, let the maid take care, let the orphanage take care. How would it be this world? How would it become of this world, huh? You are not giving good advices here. I'm so sorry, Nakis. Judy, of course he has to, man, unless he has no obligation. Then he can might as well go to hell, get lost. But as long as he has a moral right and a duty, if not under the man's law, but under the cosmology law, under moral spiritual law, he has to fulfill his obligation and his duty. And as you make your bed, so lay on it. If you bake your cake, eat it. Don't expect others to do it for you. Do you really feel people should be forced to do things they don't feel they can do? They can. We can sacrifice. I have sacrificed a lot, and I have got nothing in return, but that's okay. At least I know my consciousness is free of any guilt, because I know I have done my obligation, even if I was not 100% responsible for that process of life. What happened to me, I was not 100% to blame for it, but because I was at least 30% to blame, I had to fulfill my obligation. Why would you want to force anyone to do anything against his will? Because it's his obligation. So why must others suffer for your own doing? Huh? It's your actions, and you have to amend for it. You have to pay for it. And if you have done injustice to somebody, you have to undo it. So to at least have some at least to free your consciousness, not to have a guilty mind. But if you want to have a guilty mind, go ahead, because you are narcissist, psychopath, so you don't have that moral feelings. You don't have that feeling, that emotion that we humans do. Well, try this for a reason, because to let them get away if not doing what they say they were going to do would hurt me or my family. So in order to avoid injury, you are willing to inflict injury. Why would you inflict injury, man? And if that person doesn't get hurt, then he will inflict pain on others. Let's say, for example, I have a child as a sale, a pet, and then I get fed up with them. I say tomorrow I'm gonna let go you. I don't want to take care of you. It's not my obligation. I go there, throw you in a garbage can. Can I do that? Or I give to others and I pack my bags to go away. Should I do that? When I have made the first place, I have made my bed, and then I don't want to lay on it. It's my responsibility to take care of that being that I have created, if not consciously, at least unconsciously. Nevertheless, I have created that action. I have produced that action, that experience to come to life, to exist. And I must not forfeit, I must not let go of my obligation and responsibilities towards it. So if everybody think like this, and many have done, and they are not human, they are reptilian people, they don't have feeling, they are psycho narcissist. They'll say, to hell, I only care for my bad, man. Why should I care for other people? It's not my bad, it's not my consciousness who's going to suffer after all. So why should I care for you in the end of the day? Well, you should care. If you have any shame, I know you have no shame. You are a monster. You are a monster. And may the universe one day hit you with karma, because your aliens, allies, will not. Because they are the same way as you. They lack morality. Well, try this for a reason, because to let them get away with not doing. So in order to avoid injury, you are willing to inflict injury. Pretty much convincing, huh? Very, very convenient for them to say that. I don't see how it injures another simply to ask him to keep his word. If he keep his word, like say, for example, there's another exception to the rule here, is when someone's promising me, let's say, a job. Someone say, hey, I'm going to give you a job. Do you want another job? I say yes. Or I asked from that person a job. I say, hey, I want a job. Okay, I'll give you a job. Then later on, I wait, and there's no job, no call, nothing coming about, no email to say that I have hold that job, I have got that job. And then I go and I blame this person. Hey, you promised me a job. Why haven't you give me that job? Why? You are no good. You are a promise breaker. You cannot be trusted. You are a untrustworthy person. I cannot say that, because that person has a right to either give me or not a job. Unless they have taken away my previous job, then they have a right to give me another one. Otherwise, they don't have to. It was just me who have begged that person to give that thing to me. But if he cannot give me for some reason, then it's okay. Why should I care? Why should I muddle about it? Why should I even worry and then keep a resentment inside me for that person not to fulfill what I expect from him or her? Nobody is supposed, unless that person has a karma with me, he's not in the right to give me anything. I cannot expect anything from anybody. That's not correct. That is fantasia. That's illusion. And I have created that. And I cannot expect other people to pay for my own creations and my own thoughts, because I have chosen to create that for myself. I don't see how it injures another simply to ask him to keep his word. Yet he must see it as injurious, or he would keep it willingly. Yes, if he doesn't have an obligation towards you, then he will see it as inconvenient and irritating, and that person is a beggar, and that person is utterly selfish, narcissist person. The person who are asking and expecting too much from a person who owns him nothing, that person is a narcissist, self-centered one, selfish. So I should suffer the injury, or watch my children and family suffer the injury, rather than injure the one who make a promise by simply asking that it be kept. Do you really think that if you force another to keep a promise that you will have escaped injury? That you will have escaped injury. I tell you this, more damage has been done to others by persons leading lives of quiet desperation, that is, doing what they felt they had to do, than ever was done by persons freely doing what they wanted to do. Oh, if it is this way, man, don't come and throw us in hell or purgatory just because we break our promises. Because you just find the smallest excuses to imprison a few percentage of that person's consciousness and discrimination. so as to keep them under your tutelage and under your cruel word underneath the earth after that. Okay, so don't blame us if we go like you irresponsible and cruel. Don't blame the people who are aliens. Don't. Just don't. Okay? To yourself, to thyself be true. Okay? Be that which you expect from others. Okay? Do that which you expect that others do. When you give a person freedom, you remove danger. You don't increase it. Yes, letting someone off the hook on a promise or commitment made to you may look like it will hurt you in the short run, but it will never damage you in the long run. Because when you give the other person their freedom, you give yourself freedom as well. And so now you are free of the agonies and the sorrows, the attacks on your dignity and your self-worth that inevitably follow when you force another person to keep a promise to you that he or she does not want to keep. The longer damage will far outweigh the shorter, as nearly everyone who has tried to hold another person to their word has discovered. I'd rather be tormented by life because I have done my duty and done my work and I have been just to everybody than to suffer my own mental hell because I haven't done that. Simply because I'm not a narcissist. I don't just care for myself, I care for others as well. So I don't see how I would feel desperate, I will feel attacked, and I will feel turmoil, and I will feel that I'm in prison, in a mental prison, in as regard to commitments and responsibility. I don't see how I would feel this way. I would feel in a negative way while doing my duty. I would if I have done otherwise. Because the best thing in life is to have your mind free of guilt, of not have done just things unto others. Does this idea hold true on business as well? How could the world do business that way? Business is another thing. There's a lot of trick, a lot of corruption, so it's another thing, it's another word. I'm talking about human relation here. Actually, it's the only sane way to do business. The problem right now in your whole society is that it is based on force. Legal force, which you call the force of law, and too often physical force, which you call the world's armed forces. You have not yet learned to use the art of persuasion. If not by legal force, the force of law through the courts, how would we persuade businesses to meet the terms of their contract and keep their agreements? You are asking too much. Given your current cultural ethic, there may not be another way. Yet, with a change of cultural ethic, yes, you are now seeking to keep businesses and individuals for that matter from breaking the agreements will appear very primitive. Can you explain? You are now using force to make sure agreements are kept. When your cultural ethic is changed to include an understanding that you are all one, you would never use force because that would only damage yourself. You would not slap your left hand with your right. Even if the left hand was struggling you, that's another thing which would not happen. You would stop struggling yourself. You would stop biting your nose to spite your face. You would stop breaking your agreements. And of course, your agreements themselves would be much different. You would not agree to give something of value which you have to another only if they had something of value to give you in exchange. You would never hold back on giving or sharing something until you got what you call a just return. You would give and share automatically, that's correct. And so there would be far fewer contracts to break because a contract is about the exchange of goods and services, whereas your life would be about the giving of goods and services, regardless of what exchange may or may not take place. Yet, in this kind of one-way giving, would your salvation be found? Yeah, for you would have discovered what God has experienced, that what you give to another, you give to yourself, correct? What goes around comes around, correct? All things that proceed from you return to you sevenfold. So there is no need to worry about what you are going to get back. There is only a need to worry about what you are going to give out. Life is about creating the highest quality giving, not the highest quality getting. You keep forgetting, but life is not forgetting. Life is forgiving. And in order to do that, you need to be forgiving to others, especially those who did not give you what you thought you were going to get. This switch will entail a complete shift of your cultural story. Today, what you call success in your culture is measured largely by how much you get, by how much honor and money and power and possessions you amass. In the new culture, success will be measured by how much you cause others to amass. The irony will be that the more you cause others to amass, the more you will amass effortlessly, with no contracts, no agreements, no bargaining or negotiating, or lawsuits or courts which force you to give to each other what once promised. In the future economy, you will not do things for personal profit, but for personal growth, which will be your profit. Yet, profit in material terms will come to you as you become a bigger and grander version of who you really are. In those days and times, using force to coerce someone to give you something because they said that they would will seem very primitive to you. If another person does not keep an agreement, you will simply allow them to walk their path, make their choices, and create their own experiences of themselves. And whatever they have not given you, you will not miss, for you will know that there is more where that came from. Easier to talk than go there and do, and getting. Easier to talk, and that they are not your source of that, but you are. Wow, I got it, but it feels like we have really gotten off the mark. This whole discussion began with my asking you about love, and if human beings would ever allow themselves to express it without limitation. And that led to a question about open marriage, and suddenly we've got way off the mark here. Not really. Everything we have talked about is pertinent, and this is a perfect lead-in to your questions about so-called enlightened or more highly evolved societies. Because in highly evolved societies, there is neither marriage nor business, nor for that matter. Why should you fall emulate aliens for? Any of the artificial social construction you have created to hold your society together. Yes, well, we'll get into that soon. Right now, I just want to close down this subject. You have said some intriguing things here. What all of it breaks down to, as I get it, is that most human beings can't keep promises and so shouldn't make them. That pretty much scatters the institution of marriage. I like your use of the word institution here. Most people experience that when they are in a marriage. They are in an institution. That's correct. That's very correct. The mess. I get from you something. It's like an exchange. I give you someone. I give from you something. In exchange, you give me something back. Or I give you nothing. I just make use of you. Yeah, it's either mental health institution or penal institution or the very least institution of higher learning. Exactly, precisely. That's how most people experience it. Well, I was kidding along with you here, but I wouldn't say most people. There are still millions of people who love the institution of marriage and want to protect it. These people even evolve it. And later they start to cry. I'll stand by the statement. Most people have a very difficult time with the marriage and do not like that it does to them. That's correct, very correct. Marriage for most people sucks. Your worldwide divorce statistics prove this, correct? So are you saying that marriage should go? I have no preferences in the matter. Only I know observations. Bravo! You keep wanting to make me a god of preferences, which I'm not. Thank you for trying to stop that. Well, we have not only just scooted marriage, we also just scooted religion. It's true that religions could not exist if the whole human race understood that God doesn't have preferences, because our religion purports to be a statement of God's preferences. And if you have no preferences, then religion must be a lie. Well, that's a harsh word. It would call it a fiction. It's just something you made up. Like we made up the fiction that God prefers to be married. Yes, I don't prefer anything of the sort, but I notice you do. Why? Why do you prefer marriage if you know that that is so difficult? Because marriage was the only way you could figure out to bring forevernescy or internality into your experience of love. It was the only way a female could guarantee her support and survival, and the only way a male could guarantee the constant availability of sex and companionship, and also slavery, because they have a servant at home. If the women stay home, they will have a servant, cook, a cleaner, a cooker, a child bearer, a babysitter, all in one. A grocery buyers in most cases. And if these men have to pay for a cooker, for a cleaner, for a child bearer surrogate mother, and a maid every time, just think how much more he will spend. If he have to go groceries for himself, how much more will he spend? Unless he wants to stay by himself, that's okay. That's okay. Then he can do all this by himself. It's his problem. It's up to him. And most men can manage that, and most of the human out there do stay alone and can manage all that alone. She can work, start on herself. She doesn't need a man to support her financially wise or emotionally wise, unless this woman is too needy or too weak emotionally speaking. It was the only way a female could guarantee her support and survival, and the only way a male could guarantee the constant availability of sex in companionship, because this came after the male domination, and this came after the advent of organized religions. Male organized religions. They were the ones who created all this mess. All this institution started from the males. So don't complain here about the females, okay? So a social convention was created, a bargain was struck. You give me this and I'll give you that, correct? It's an exchange. In this, it was very much like a business. A contract was made. And since both parties needed to enforce the contract, it was said to be a sacred pact with God, who would punish those who broke it. Later, when that didn't work, you created man-made laws to enforce it. But even that hasn't worked. Neither the so-called laws of God nor the laws of man have been able to keep people from breaking their marriage vows. Correct. And this means what? That marriage sucks and didn't work. Didn't really serve humanity. How come? Because those vows, as you have been normally constructed, run counter to the only law that matters, which is natural law. Natural law, correct. But it is the nature of things for life to express unity, one and see. Isn't that what I'm getting from all of this? And a marriage is our most beautiful expression of that. You know what God has joined together, let no man put asunder, and all that. Marriage, as most of you have practiced it, is not particularly beautiful, for it violates two of the three aspects of what is true about each human being by nature. We'll go over it again. I think I'm just starting to pull this together. Okay, once more from the top. Who you are is love. What love is unlimited, internal, and free. Therefore, that is what you are. That is the nature of who you are. You are unlimited, internal, and free by nature. Now, any artificial, social, moral, religious, philosophical, economic, or political construction which violates or subordinates your nature is an impingement upon your very self, and you will rail against it. What do you suppose gave birth to your own country? Was it not give me liberty or give me that? Freedom or that? Well, you have given up that liberty in your country, and you have given it up in your lives, and for the same thing, security. You are so afraid to live, so afraid of life itself, that you have given up the very nature of your being in trade for security. The institution you call marriage is your attempt to create security, as is the institution called government. Actually, they are both forms of the same thing, artificial social constructions designed to govern each other's behavior. Good grief, I never looked at it like that. I always thought that marriage was the ultimate announcement of love. As you have imagined it, yes, but not as you have constructed. As you have constructed is the ultimate announcement of fear. If marriage allowed you to be unlimited, internal, and free in your love, then it would be the ultimate announcement of love. As things are now, you become married in an effort to lower your love to the level of a promise or a guarantee. Marriage is an effort to guarantee that what is so now will always be so. If you didn't need this guarantee, you would not need marriage. And how do you use this guarantee? First, as means of creating security instead of creating security from that which is inside of you. And second, if that security is not forever forthcoming, as a means of punishing each other for the marriage promise which has been broken, can now form the basis of the lawsuit which has been opened. It's a mess. And the worst is see girls, teenagers girls getting tangled in this mess. Teenager girls are supposed to be there working, studying and having fun. I'm not saying fun if it's sex and I'm getting pregnant. I'm talking about normal youth fun. You have just found marriage very useful, even if it's for all the wrong reasons. Marriage is also your attempt to guarantee that the feelings you have for each other, you will never have for another, or at least that you will never express them for another in the same way, namely sexually. Finally, marriage as you have constructed is a way of saying this relationship is special. I hold this relationship above all others. What's wrong with that? Nothing. It's not a question of right or wrong. Right and wrong do not exist. It's a question of what serves you, of what recreates you in the next grandest image of who you really are. If who you really are is being who says, this one relationship, this single one right over here is more special than any other, then your construction of marriage allows you to do that perfectly. Yet you might find it interesting to notice that almost no one who is or has been recognized as a spiritual master is married. Bravo! Yeah, because masters are celibate, they don't have sex. No, not because of that. It's because masters cannot truthfully make the statement that your present construction of marriage seeks to make. That one person is more special to them than another. This is not a statement that a master makes. It is not a statement that God makes. The fact is that your marriage vows, as you presently constructed them, have you making a very ungodly statement. It's the height of the irony that you feel this is the holiest of the holy promises, for it is a promise that God would never make. Yet, in order to justify your human fears, you have imagined a God who acts just like you. Therefore, you speak of God's promise to His chosen people, and of covenants between God and those God loves in a special way. You cannot stand the thought of a God who loves no one in a way which is more special than another. And so you create fictions about a God who only loves certain people for certain reasons. And you call these fictions religions. I call them blasphemies. For any thought that God loves one more than another is false. And any ritual which asks you to make the same statement is not a sacrament, but a sacrilege. Oh my God, stop it. Stop it. You are killing every good thought I ever have had about marriage. This can't be God writing this. God would never say such things about religion and marriage. Incorrect. He was correct in that it was not from God, nevertheless. It's from aliens. Religion and marriage, the way you have constructed them, is what we are talking about here. You think that this talk is tough? I tell you this. You have busted bastardized the word of God in order to justify your fears and rationalize your insane treatment of each other. Correct. That's correct. You will make God say whatever you need God to say in order to continue limiting each other, hurting each other, and killing each other in my name. Bravo! Yeah, you have invoked my name and waved my flag and carried crosses on your battlefields for centuries, all as a proof that I love one people more than another, and I would ask you to kill to prove it. Yet I tell you this, my love is unlimited and unconditional. That is the one thing you cannot hear, the one truth you cannot abide, the one statement you cannot accept. For it is all inclusiveness destroys not only the institution of marriage as you have constructed, but every one of your religions and governmental institutions as well. For you have created a culture based on exclusion and supported it with a cultural myth of a God who excludes. Bravo! Bravo, correct. Yet the culture of God is based on inclusion and God's love. Everyone is included into God's kingdom. Everyone is invited. Correct. Correct. And this is truth is what you call a blasphemy. And you must, because if it is true, then everything you have created in your life is false. All human conventions and all human constructions are faulty to the degree that they are not unlimited, internal and free. Correct. How can anything be faulty if there is no such thing as a right and wrong? A thing is only faulty to the degree that it does not function to suit its purpose. If a door does not open and close, you would not call the door wrong. You would merely say its installation or operation is faulty because it does not serve its purpose. Whatever you construct in your life, in your human society, which does not serve your purpose in becoming human, is faulty. Is a faulty construction, correct? And just for review, my purpose is becoming human is to decide and to declare, to create and to express, to experience and to fulfill who you really are, to recreate yourself anew in every moment in the grandest version of the greatest vision ever you had about who you really are. That is your purpose in becoming human, and that's the purpose of all of life. So, where does that leave us? We have destroyed religion, we have dissed marriage, we have denounced governments. Where are we then? First of all, we have destroyed, dissed, and denounced nothing. If a construction you have created is not working and not producing what you wanted to produce, to describe that condition is not to destroy, diss, or denounce the construction. Try to remember the difference between judgment and observation. Well, I'm not going to argue with you here, but a lot of what has just been said has sounded pretty judgmental to me. We are constricted here by the awful limitation of words. There are really so few of them, and so we have to use the same ones over and over again, even when they don't always convey the same meaning or the same kind of thoughts. You say that you love bananas splits, but you surely don't mean the same thing as when you say you love each other. So you see, you have very few words, really, to describe how you are feeling. In communicating with you in this way, in the way of words, I have allowed myself to experience those limitations, and I will concede that. because some of this language has also been used by you when you are being judgmental. It would be easy to conclude that I'm being judgmental when I use them. Let me assure you here that I'm not. Throughout this whole dialogue, I have simply been trying to tell you how to get where you say you want to go, and to describe as impactfully as possible what is blocking your way, what is stopping you from going there. Now, with regard to religion, you say where you want to go is to a place where you can truly know God and love God. I'm simply observing that your religions do not take you there. Your religions has made God the great mystery and caused you not to love God, but to fear God. Correct. Religion has done little as well to cause you to change your behaviors. You are still killing each other, condemning each other, making each other wrong, and in fact it is your religions which had been encouraging you to do so. So with regard to religion, I merely observe that you say you want it to take you to one place and it's taking you to another. Now you say you want marriage to take you to the land of internal bliss, what leads to some reasonable level of peace, security, and happiness. As with religion, your invention called marriage does well with this and the early going, when you are first experiencing it. Yet, as with religion, the longer you reside in the experience, the more it takes you where you say you don't want to go. Nearly half of the people who become married dissolve their marriage through divorce, correct, or separation. And of those who stay married, many are desperately, miserably unhappy. Correct. Very, very true this. Your unions of bliss leads you to bitterness, anger, resentment, and regret. Some, and not a small number, take you to a place of outright tragedy. Killing, feminicides, killings of the humans, because the men become so desperate, they don't want to share what they have with the human. They want to get rid of them. They don't know how because they don't want to lose in the process. End up killing her either for crimes of passion and either for monetary motives reason. You say you want your governments to ensure peace, freedom, and domestic tranquility, and I observe that as you have devised them. They do none of this. Rather, your government leads you to war, increasing lack of freedom, and domestic violence and upheaval. You haven't been able to solve the basic problems of simply feeding and keeping people healthy and alive, much less meet the challenge of providing them equal opportunity. Correct. Hundreds of you die every day of starvation, on a planet where thousands of you throw away each day enough food to feed nations. You can't handle the simplest task of getting the leftovers from the haves to the have-nots. Much less resolve the issue of whether you even want to share your resources more equitably. Correct. Very correct. And I'm gonna repeat it because it's very, very very important. Now, these are not judgment. These are things which are observably true about your society. Your unions of bliss lead you to bitterness, anger, and regret, vigilance also, and also resentment. Some, and not a small number, take you to a place of outright tragedy. Outright tragedy. You say you want your governments to ensure peace, freedom and domestic tranquility. And observe that as you have devised them, they do none of this. Rather, your governments lead you to war, increasing lack of freedom, and domestic violence and upheaval. You have been able to solve the basic. You haven't been able to solve the basic problems of simply feeding and keeping people healthy and alive, much less meet the challenge of providing them equal opportunity. Hundreds of you die every day of starvation on a planet where thousands of you throw away day enough food to feed the nations. That's because only those chosen ones are able to eat. You can't handle the simplest task of getting the leftovers from the haves to the have-nots, much less resolve the issue of whether you even want to share your resources more equitably. Now, these are not judgments. These are things which are observably true about your societies. Why? Why is this like this? Why have we made so little progress in conducting our own affairs these past many years? Years? Try centuries. Okay, centuries. It has to do with the first human cultural myth and with all the other myths which necessarily follow. Until they change, nothing else will change. For your cultural myths inform your ethics, and your ethics create your behaviors. Yet, the problem is that your cultural myth is at variance with your basic instinct. What do you mean? Your first cultural myth is that human beings are inherently evil. This is the myth of original sin. The myth holds that not only is your basic nature evil, you were born that way. The second cultural myth arises necessarily out of the first, is that it is the fittest who survive. Snake eating snake kind of word. The second myth holds that some of you are strong and some of you are weak, and that to survive you have to be one of the strong. You will do all that you can to help your fellow men, but if and when it comes down to your own survival, you will take care of yourself first. Narcissism behavior, and not to mention the elderly, how they are treated. You will even let others die. Indeed, you will go farther than that if you think you have to, in order for you and yours to survive. You will actually kill others, presumably the weak, thereby define you as the fittest. Yeah, that's why they are killing children, animals, human, elderly, etc. Some of you say that this is your basic instinct. It is called the survival instinct. And it is this cultural myth that transformed the mass of your societal ethic, creating many of your group behaviors. Yet, your basic instinct is not survival, but rather fantasy, oneness, and love. This is the basic instinct of all sentient beings everywhere. It's your cellular memory. It's your inherent nature. Thus, it is exploded your first cultural myth. You are not basically evil. You were not born in original sin. If your basic instinct was survival, and if your basic nature was evil, you would never move instinctively to save a child from falling. A man or animal, so many men save them, a man from drowning, or anyone from anything. And yet, when you act on your basic instincts and display your basic nature and don't think about what you are doing, this is exactly how you behave. even at your own peril. That's correct. Thus, your basic instinct cannot be survival, and your basic nature is clearly not evil. Your instinct and your nature is to reflect the essence of who you are, which is fantasy, oneness, and love. Sadly, so many have forgotten about this, and sadly, so certain culture. They are so apathic. They are so into themselves that they don't care about others, much less the weak ones. Looking at the social implications of this, it is important to understand the difference between fantasy and equality. It's not a basic instinct of all um, sentient beings to seek equality or to be equal. Indeed, exactly the opposite is true. The basic instinct of all living things is to express uniqueness, not sameness. Creating a society in which two beings are truly equal is not only impossible but indesirable. Societal mechanisms seeking to produce true equality, in other words, economic, political, and social sameness, work against, not for, the grandest idea and the highest purpose, which is that each being will have the opportunity to produce the outcome of its grandest desire, and thus truly recreate itself anew. Equality of opportunity is what is required for this, not equality in fact. This is called fantasy. Equality in fact, produced by exterior forces and laws, would eliminate, not produce fantasy. It would eliminate the opportunity for true self-recreation, which is the highest goal of enlightened beings everywhere. And what would create freedom of opportunity? Systems that would allow society to meet the basic survival needs of every individual, freeing all beings to pursue self-development and self-creation rather than self-survival. In other words, systems that imitate the true system called life, in which survival is guaranteed. Now, because self-survival is not an issue in enlightened societies, these societies would never allow one of its members to suffer if there were enough for all. And those societies' self-interest and mutual best interest are identical. No society created around myth of inherent evilness or survival of the fittest could possibly achieve such understanding. Yes, I see this, and this cultural myth question is something I want to explore, along with the behaviors and ethics of more advanced civilizations, later in greater detail, but I'd like to double back one last time and resolve the questions I started out with here. One of the challenges of talking with you is that your answers lead us in such interesting directions that I sometimes forget where I began. But in this case, I have not. We were discussing marriage. We were discussing love and its requirements. Love has no requirements. That's what makes it love. If you love another to another carries requirements, then it's not love at all, but some counterfeit version. That's what I have been trying to tell you here. It's what I have been saying in a dozen different ways with every question you have asked here. Within the context of marriage, for example, there is an exchange of vows that love does not require. Yet you require them because you do not know what love is, and so you make each other promise what love would never ask. Then you are against marriage. I am against nothing. I'm simply describing what I see. Now you can change what I see. You can redesign your social construction called marriage so that it doesn't ask what love would never ask, but rather declares what only love could declare. In other words, change the marriage vows. More than that, change the expectations on which the vows are based. These expectations are going to be difficult to change because they are your cultural heritage. They arise in turn from your cultural myths. Here we go again with the cultural myths routine. What is up with you about this? What's up? What's with you about this? I'm hoping to point you in the right direction here. I see where you say you want to go with your society, and I'm hoping to find human words in human terms that can direct you there. May I give you an example? Please. One of your cultural myths about love is that it's about giving rather than receiving. It's about giving rather than receiving. This has become a cultural imperative, and yet it is driving you crazy, causing more damage than you could ever imagine. It gets and keeps people in bad marriages. It causes relationships of all kinds to be dysfunctional. Yet, no one, not your parents to whom you look for guidance, not your clergy to whom you look for inspiration, not your psychologists and psychiatrists to whom you look for clarity, not even your writers and artists to whom you look for intellectual leadership, will dare to challenge the prevailing cultural myth. And so songs are written, stories are told, movies are made, guidance is given, prayers are offered, and parenting is done, which perpetuates the myth. Then you are all left to live up to it, and you can't. Yet, it's not you that's the problem, it's the myth. Love is not about giving rather than receiving. No! It isn't? No, it has never been. It never has been. But you said yourself just a moment ago that love has no requirements. You said that that's what makes it love, and so it is. Well, that sure sounds like giving rather than receiving to me. Then you need to reread chapter 8 of book 1. Everything I'm alluding to here, I have explained it to you there in book 1. This dialogue was meant to be read in sequence and to be considered as a whole. I know, but for those who nevertheless came to these words now without having read book 1, could you explain please what you are getting at here? Because frankly, even I could use the review, and I think I now understand this stuff. Okay, here goes. Everything you do for yourself. This is true because you and all others are one. What you do for another, you therefore do for you. What you fail to do for another, you fail to do for you. What is good for another is good for you, and what is bad for another is bad for you. I don't know what is true, because sometimes the medicine for a man is poison for another. So I find it difficult to process all this. This is the most basic truth. Yet, it is the truth you most frequently I know. Now, when you are in a relationship with another, that relationship has only one purpose. It exists as a vehicle for you to decide and to declare, to create and to express, to experience and to fulfill your highest notion of who you really are. Now, if who you really are is a person who is kind and considerate, caring and sharing, sharing, compassionate, and loving, then when you are being these things with others, you are giving yourself the grandest experience for which you came into the body to do, to be. This is what you took a body, because only in the physical realm of the relative could you know yourself as these things. In the realm of the absolute, from which you have come, this experience of knowing is impossible, because over there there is only theory still to be placed into experience. And here is the realm of more experience than theory. It is a complete realm, physical. All these things I have explained to you is far greater detail in book 1. But there's a people who have inverted, they have distorted, and they have said that this word is not quite the true one and the other word is true, but they don't understand. It's not correct. I still think that this word is the word of experience, although it's not internal, but the word of almost complete experience. The other one is without much discriminations and is the word of a realm of thoughts and thinking, and is a word of processes and creation to be made into experience and into physicality. Now, if who you really are is a being who does not love the self and who allows the self to be abused, damaged, and destroyed by others, then you will continue behaviors which allows you to experience that. Yet, if you really are a person who is kind and considerate, caring and sharing, compassionate and loving, hey, wait a minute. Now, if you really are is a being, now, if who you really are is a being who does not love the self and who allows the self to be abused, damaged, and destroyed by others, or understand, if we allow yourself to be abused by others, then you will continue this behavior which allows you to experience that. Yet, if you really are a person who is kind and considerate, caring, sharing, compassionate, and loving, sometimes it doesn't work here in this world. It really doesn't work. You will include yourself among the people to whom you are being these things. Yeah, but especially so nowadays, we sometimes we are kind and we get the opposite in return. People will stab you on the back. People, or at least they will try to. They will abuse and bully you. You know. So we never know. Sometimes, like, the opposite attracts and disrespect. Indeed, you will start with yourself. You will put yourself first in these matters. Everything in life depends on what you are seeking to be. If, for instance, you are seeking to be one with all others, that is, if you are seeking to experience a conceptualization you already know to be true, you will find yourself behaving in a very specific way, a way which allows you to experience and demonstrate your oneness. And when you do certain things as a result of this, you will not experience that you are doing something for someone else, but rather that you are doing it for yourself. The same will be true no matter what you are seeking to be. This sounds like karma to me. If you are seeking to be loved, you will be loving. You will do loving things with others. Not for others, but with others. Notice the difference. The same will be true. Let me say it again. Everything in life depends on what you are seeking to be. If, for instance, you are seeking to be one with all others, that is, if you are seeking to experience a conceptualization you already know to be true, you will find yourself behaving in a very specific way, a way which allows you to experience and demonstrate your oneness. And when you do certain things, as a result of this, you will not experience that you are doing something for someone else, but rather that you are doing it for yourself. The same will be true no matter what you are seeking to be. If you are seeking to be loved, you will do loving things with others, not for others, but with others. That means we are sharing. Notice the difference. Catch the nuance. The nuance. You will be doing loving things with others for yourself, so that you can actualize and experience your grandest idea about yourself and who you really are. In this sense, it is impossible to do anything for any other, for every act of your own volition is literally just that, an act. You are acting, that is creating and playing a role, correct? Except you are not pretending, you are actually being it. You are a human being, and what you are being is decided and chosen by you. Your Shakespeare said it. All the world is a stage, and the people the players. He also said, to be or not to be, that's the question. And he also said, to die on itself be true, and it must follow as the night the day. Do can't not then be false to any man. That's correct. When you are true to yourself, when you do not betray yourself, then when it looks like you are giving, you will know you are actually receiving. You are literally giving yourself back to yourself. You cannot truly give to another for the simple reason that there is no other. If we are all one, then there is only you. This sometimes seems like a semantic trick, a way to change the words around to alter their meaning. It's not a trick, but it's a magic, and it's not about changing words to alter meaning, but changing perceptions to alter experience. Your experience of everything is based on your perceptions, and your perception is based on your understanding. And your understanding is based on your myths, that is, on what you have been told. Now I tell you this. Your present cultural myths have not served you. They have not taken you where you say you want to go, correct? Either you are lying to yourself about where you say you want to go, or you are blind to the fact that you are not getting there. Not as an individual, not as a country, not as a species or a race. Are there other species which are? Oh yes, decidedly, definitively. Okay, I've waited long enough. Tell me about them. Soon, very soon, but first I want to tell you about how you can alter your inventions called marriage, so that it takes you closer to where you say you want to go. Do not destroy it, do not do away with it, alter it. Yes, well, I want to know about that. I want to know whether there is any way that human beings will ever be allowed to express true love. So I end this section of our dialogue where I began it. What limits shall we indeed, some would say, must we place on that expression? None. No limits at all. And that's what your marriage vows should state. That's amazing, because that's exactly what my marriage vows with Nancy did state. I know. When Nancy and I decided to get married, I suddenly felt inspired to write a whole new set of marriage vows. I know. And Nancy joined me. She agreed that we couldn't possibly exchange the vows that had become traditional at weddings. I know. We sat down and created new marriage vows that defied the cultural imperative, as you might put it. Yes, you did. I was very proud. As we were writing them, as we put the vows down on paper for the minister to read, I truly believe we were both inspired. Of course you were. Do you mean? What do you think? I only come to you when you are writing books? Wow. Yes, wow. So why don't you put those marriage vows here? Huh? Go ahead. You've got a cup of them, don't you? Put them right here. Well, we didn't create them to share with the world. When this dialogue began, you didn't think any of it would be shared with the world. Go ahead, put them in. It's just that I don't want people to think that I'm saying we have written the perfect marriage vows. All of a sudden, you are worried about what people will think. Come on, you know what I mean. Look, no one says these are the perfect marriage vows. Well, okay, they are just the best in one on your planets come up with so far. Hey, just kidding. Let's lighten up here. Go ahead, put the votes in. I'll take responsibility for them, and people will love them. I'll give them an idea of what we are talking about here. Why you may even want to invite others to take these vows, which are not really vows at all, but marriage statements. Well, okay, here's what Nancy and I said to each other when we got married. Thanks to inspiration we received. Minister, Neil and Nancy have not come here tonight to make a solemn promise or to exchange a sacred vow. Nancy and Neil have come here to make public their love for each other, to give noticement to their truth, to declare their choice to live and partner and grow together out loud and in your presence, out of their desire that will all come to feel a very real and intimate part of their decisions, and thus make it even more powerful. They have also come here tonight, and the Father hope that their rituals of bondage will help bring us all closer together. If you are here tonight with a spouse or a partner, let this ceremony be a reminder, a rededication of your own loving bond. We'll begin by asking this question: why get married? Neil and Nancy have answered this question for themselves, and they have told me their answers. Now I want to ask them one more time so they can be sure of their answers, certain of their understanding, and firm in their commitment to the truth they share. Melissa gets 2 red roses from the table. This is the ceremony of roses, in which Nancy and Neil share their understandings and commemorable that sharing. Now, Nancy and Neil, you have told me it is your firm understanding that you are not entering into this marriage for reasons of security, that the only real security is not in owning or possessing, nor in being owned or possessed, not in demanding or expecting, and not even in hoping that what you think you need in life will be supplied by the other, but rather in knowing that everything you need in life, all the love, all the wisdom, all the insight, all the power, all the knowledge, all the understanding, all the nurturing, all the compassion, and all the strength resides within you. And that you are not each marrying the other in hopes of getting these things, but in hopes of giving these gifts, that the other might have them in even greater abundance. Is that your firm understanding tonight? They say it is. And you and Nancy, you have told me it is your firm understanding. You are not entering into this marriage as a means of any way limiting, controlling, hindering or restricting each other from any true expression and honest celebration of that which is the highest and best within you, including your love of God, your love of life, your love of people, your love of creativity, your love of work, or any aspect of your being which genuinely represents you and brings you joy. Is that still your firm understanding tonight? They say it is. Finally, Nancy and Neil, you have said to me that you do not see marriage as producing obligations, but rather as providing opportunities. Opportunities for growth, for full self-expression, for lifting your lives to their highest potential, for healing every false thought or small idea you ever had about yourself, and for ultimate reunion with God through the communion of your two souls. That this is truly a holy communion, a journey through life with one you love as an equal partner, sharing equally both the authority and the responsibilities inherent in any partnership, bearing equally what burdens there be, basking equally in the glories. Is that the vision you wish to enter into now? They say it is. And I'll give you these red roses, symbolizing your individual understandings of these earthly things, that you both know and agree how life will be with you in bodily form and within the physical structures called marriage. Give these roses now to each other as a symbol of your sharing of disagreements and understandings with love. Now please each of you take this white rose as a symbol of your larger understanding of your spiritual nature and your spiritual truth. It stands for the purity of your real and highest self, and of the purity of God's love, which shines upon you now and always. She gives Nancy the rose with Neil's ring on the stem, and Neil the rose with Nancy's ring on it. What symbols do you bring as a reminder of the promises given and received today? They each remove the rings from the stems, giving them to the minister, who holds them in her hand as she says, "A circle is the symbol of the sun and the earth and the universe, is a symbol of holiness and of perfection and peace. It is also the symbol of the eternality of spiritual truth, love and life, that which has no beginning and no end. And in this moment, Neil and Nancy choose for it to also be a symbol of unity, but not of possession, of joining, but not of restriction, of encirclement, but not of entrapment. For love cannot be possessed, nor can it be restricted, and the soul can never be entrapped." Now, Nell and Nancy, please take these rings you wish to give one to the other. They take each other's ring. Neil, please repeat after me. I, Neil, ask you, Nancy, to be my partner, my lover, my friend, and my wife. I announce and declare my intention to give you my deepest friendship and love, not only when your moments are high, but when they are low. Not only when you remember clearly who you are, but only when you forget. Not only when you are acting with love, but when you are not. I further announce before God and those here present that I will seek always to see the light of divinity within you, and I seek always to share the light of divinity within me, even and especially in whatever moments of darkness may come. It's my intention to be with you forever in a holy partnership of the soul, but we may do together God's work, sharing all that is good within us, with all those whose lives we touch. The minister turns to Nancy. Nancy, do you choose to grant Neil's request that you be his wife? She answers, I do. Now, Nancy, please repeat after me. I, Nancy, ask you, Neil. She makes the same vow. Minister turns to Neil. Neil, do you choose to grant Nancy's request that you be her husband? He answers, I do. Please then, both of you, take hold of the rings you give each other and repeat after me. With this ring I deal with. I take now the rings you give to me, the exchange rings, and I give it a place upon my hand. They place the rings on their hands, that all may see and know of my love for you. The minister closes. We recognize with full warranty that only a couple can administer the sacrament of marriage to each other, and only a couple can sanctify it. Neither my church nor any power vested in me by the state can grant me the authority to declare what only two hearts can declare, and what only two souls can make real. And a soul now, inasmuch as you, Nancy, and you, Neil, have announced the truths that are already written in your hearts, and have witnessed the same in the presence of these, your friends, in the one living Spirit, we observe joyfully that you have declared yourself to be husband and wife. Let us now join in prayer. Spirit of love and life, out of this whole world, two souls have found each other. Their destiny shall now be woven into one design, and their perils and their joys shall not be known apart. Neil and Nancy, may your home be a place of happiness for all who enter it, a place where the old and the young are renewed in each other's company, a place for growing and a place for sharing, a place for music and a place for laughter, a place for prayer and a place for love. May those who are nearest to you be constantly enriched by the beauty and the bounty of your love for each other. May your work be a joy of your life that serves the world, and may your days be good and long upon the earth. Amen. Amen. I'm so touched by that. I'm so honored, so blessed to have found someone in my life who could say those words to me. And I mean them. Dear God, thank you for sending me Nancy. You are a gift to her too, you know. I hope so. Trust me. Do you know what I wish? No, what? I wish that all people could make those marriage statements. I wish people would cut them out or copy them and use them for their wedding. I bet you would see the divorce rate plummet. Some people would have a very hard time saying those things, and many would have a hard time staying true to them. That's so true. I once think this way. I just hope that we can stay true to them. I mean, the problem if you putting those words in here is that now we have to live up to them. You were not planning on live up to them. That's the problem with human. Of course we were, but we are human just like everybody else. Yet now if we fail, if we falter, if anything should happen to our relationship, oh good grief, we should ever choose to end it in its present form, all kinds of people are going to be disillusioned. Nonsense. They will know that you are being true to yourself. They'll know that you have made a later choice. At least they have tried a new choice. Remember what I told you in book 1. Do not confuse the length of your relationship with its quality. You are not an icon, and neither is Nancy, and no one should put you there, and you should not put yourself there. Just be human. Just be fully human. If at some later point you and Nancy feel you wish to reform your relationship in a different way, you have a perfect right to do that. That's the point of this whole dialogue. Correct. And it was the point of the statement we made. Exactly. I'm glad that you see that. Yes, I like those marriage statements, and I'm glad that we put them in. It's a wonderful new way to begin a life together. No more asking the human to promise to love, honor, and obey. It was self-righteous, self-inflated, self-serving man who demanded that. You're right, of course. And it was even more self-righteous. and self-serving for man to claim that such male preeminence was God ordained. Again, you are right. I never ordained any such thing. At last, marriage words which really are inspired by God, words which make a chattel, personal property out of no one, words which speak the truth about love, words which place no limitations but promise only freedom, words to which all hearts can remain true. There are those who will say, of course, anyone can keep vows which ask nothing of you. What will you say to that? I will say it is much more difficult to free someone than to control them. When you control someone, you get what you want. When you free someone, they get what they want. You will have spoken wisely. I have a wonderful idea. I think we should make a little booklet of those marriage statements, kind of a little prayer book for people to use on their wedding day. It could be a small little book, and it would contain not only those words, but the whole ceremony and a key observations about love and relationship from all three books in this dialogue, as well as some special prayers and meditations on marriage, which in turns out you are not against. I'm so happy because it started to sound for a minute as if you were anti-marriage. How could I be against marriage? We are all married. We are married to each other, now and forevermore. We are united. We are one. Ours is the biggest marriage ceremony ever held. My vow to you is the grandest vow ever made. I will love you forever and free you for everything. My love will never bind you in any way, and because of this you are bound to eventually love me. For freedom to be who you are is your greatest desire and my greatest gift. Do you take me now to be your lawfully wedded partner and co-creator according to the highest laws of the universe? I do. And do you take me now as your partner and co-creator? I do, and I always have, now and through all eternity. We are all one. Amen and amen. End of chapter 15. Now chapter 14 of the book Conversations with an Alien God. Chapter 14. Book 3. I'm filled with awe and reverence at the reading of these words. Thank you for being here with me in this way. Thank you for being here with all of us. For millions have read the words and these dialogues, and a millions more will yet to do so. And we are breathlessly gifted by the coming of you to our hearts. My dearest beings, I have always been in your hearts. I'm only glad you can now actually feel me there. I have always been with you. I have never left you. I am you and you are me. And you shall never be separated ever because that's not possible. Hey, wait a minute. This feels like deja vu. Didn't we just say all of these words before? Of course, you read the beginning of chapter 12. Only now they mean even more than they meant the first time. Wouldn't it be neat if deja vu was real and what you really are sometimes experiencing something over again so that we can get more meaning out of it? What do you think? I think that's exactly what's sometimes happening. Unless it is not. Unless it is not. Good, bravo again. You are moving so rapidly, so quickly to massive new understanding that is getting scary. Yes, isn't it? Now I have something serious I need to discuss with you. Yes, I know. Go ahead. When does the soul join the body? When do you think? When it chooses to? Good. When it chooses to? Good. Really? But people want a more definitive answer. They want to know When life begins, life as they know it. I understand. He's being kind of invasive here. He don't want to tell the secret because it is um, a bit controversial. So what's the signal? Is the emergency of the body from the womb, the physical birth? Is the moment of conception, the physical join of the elements of physical life? Life has no beginning because life has no end. Life merely extends, creates new forms. It must be like that gloppy material induced heated lava lamps that were so popular in the 60s. Lava lamps, plasma, that it rings a bell. The globes would lay in big soft round balls at the bottom when they rise from the heat, separating and form new globes, shaping themselves as they rose, rejoin each other at the top, cascading together to form even larger globes of all and starting all over again. There were never any new globes in the tube. It's all about experiment in the lab in the interior agartha of the earth, and they use plasma. It's a substance called plasma, which has to do with the fourth dimension as well. So there we're going to continue. Repeat. It must be like that gloppy material and those heated lava lamps. This guy is very smart actually. The globes would lay in a big soft round balls at the bottom. They rise from the heat, separate and form new globes, shaping themselves as they rose, rejoin each other at the top, cascading together to form even larger globes of the all, and starting all over again. There were never any new globes in the tube. It was all the same stuff. Reform itself in what looked like new and different stuff. The varieties were already less, and it was fascinating to watch the process unfold over and over again. Let's talk about cryogeny here. Cryogeny. That's a great metaphor. That's how it is with souls. The one soul, which is real all there is, reforms itself into smaller and smaller part of unit of itself. All the parts were there at the beginning. There are no new parts, merely portions of the all that always was, reform itself into what looks like new and different parts. There's a brilliant pop song written and performed by Joan Osborne that asks, what if God wants one of us? Just as lob like one of us. I'm going to have to ask her to change the lyric line to, what if God wants one of us? Just a globe like one of us. Ha! That's very good. And her song was brilliant song. It pushed people's buttons all over the place. People couldn't stand the thought that I'm no better than one of them. That reaction is an interesting comment, not so much on God, but on the human race. If you consider it a blasphemy for God to be compared to one of us, what does that say about us? What, indeed? What, indeed? Chet, you are one of us. That's exactly what you are saying here. So Joan was right. She certainly was profoundly right. I want to get back to my question. Can you tell us anything about when life as we know it starts? At what point does the soul enter the body? The soul doesn't enter the body. The body is enveloped by the soul, exactly by that causal body called the causal, the blob, the program is called the soul. Okay, it envelopes, carries the body doesn't carry it, is opposite, and it carries and holds all our actions and reactions. So that will have come, that soul, that blob will come to account, that globe there will go into account. Not we, because we are just consciousness. We are pure consciousness. We go back, we are stardust, we go back to the cosmos. Remember what I said before, the body does not house the soul, it's the other way around. Everything is always alive. There's no such thing as dead. There's no such thing, no such state of being. That which is always alive simply shapes itself into a new form, a new physical form. That form is charged with living energy, the energy of life always, and it could be negative or it's not always positive, but negative as well, and a horrid or a terrorizing even, it's not always heaven and a good, but the negative, the dual side of it also exists below the earth. Life, if you are calling life, the energy that I am is always there. It's never not there. Life never ends. So how can there be a point where life begins? Come on, help me out here. You know what I'm trying to get at. Yes, I do. You want me to enter the abortion debate. Yes, I do. I admit it. I mean, I've got God here and I have a chance to ask the monumental question, where does life begin? And the answer is so monumental. You can't hear it. Try me again. It never begins. Life never begins because life never ends. You want to get into biological technicalities so that you can make up a rule based on what you want to call God's law about how people should behave, then punish them if they do not behave their way, like the aliens do, nevertheless, isn't it? What's wrong with that? That would allow us to kill doctors in the parking lots of clinics with impunity. Yes, I understand. You have used admin in what you have declared to be my laws and justification for all sorts of things through the years. Oh, come on. Why won't you just say that terminating a pregnancy is murder? Who are you to say that, man? You are so fanatically sick man. You cannot kill anyone or anything. No, but you call its individuation, and I am a language that's killing. You cannot stop the process wherein which a part of me individually expresses in a certain way without the part of me that is expressing in that way agreeing. I'm gonna repeat this. Oh, come on, why won't you just say that termination of pregnancy is murder? You cannot kill anyone or anything. No, but you can and end its individuation, and in our language that is killing. You cannot stop the process wherein which a part of me individually expresses in a certain way without the part of me that is expressing in that way agreeing. What? What are you saying? I am saying that nothing happens against the will of God. Is the aliens. Life and all that is occurring is expression of God's will. Read that. Your will made manifest. I have said in this dialogue, your will is my will. That is because there is only one of us. Life is God's will expressing perfectly. If something was happening against God's will, it couldn't happen by definition of who and what God is. I couldn't happen. Do you believe that one soul can somehow decide something for another? Do you believe that as individuals you can affect each other in a ways in which the other does not want to be affected? Such a belief would have to be based on the idea that you are separate from each other. Do you believe that you can somehow affect life in a way in which God does not want life to be affected? Such a belief would have to be based on the idea that you are separate from me. Both ideas are false, fake. It's arrogant beyond measure for you to believe that you can affect the universe in a way with which the universe does not agree. You are dealing with mighty forces here. And some of you believe that you are mightier than the mightiest force. Tricky here. Yet you are not, nor are you less mighty than the mightiest force. You are the mightiest force, no more, no less. So let the force be with you. Are you saying that I can't kill anybody without his or her permission? Are you telling me that at some higher level, everyone who has ever been killed has agreed to be killed? Well, I don't know, this is a very difficult, very controversial statement and words here, so I don't know. Maybe on the subconscious they have consented, but not on the conscious mind. No, they haven't agreed to be killed. And you cannot, maybe you can kill a child and a fetus if it is 3 months onward in gestation. It's below that, it's just a lump of flesh. The soul is still not there. The spirit has not been there yet, but there is molecule moving around, and the guardians coming in at maybe 5 months in gestation. 5 months is how many weeks? 5 times 4, 20 weeks, is it? Isn't it? 20 weeks of gestation. Then when the guardian comes in, and that fetus start to, but at 12 weeks it started already. 3 months, 3 weeks, 12 weeks, 3 months, the fetus start to have life. Okay, start to have the mechanism already, but not soul. The soul come nearly immediately after it is injected outside the body, the uterus of the mother. So are you say that you can kill anybody that he's or her permission? Are you tell me that some higher level, everyone who has ever been killed has agreed to be killed? You are looking at things in earthly terms and thinking of things in earthly terms, and none of this is going to make sense to you. I can't help thinking in earthly terms. I'm here right now on the earth. I tell you this, you are in this world, but not of it. You are in this world, but not of it. So my earthly reality is not reality at all. Did you really think it was? I don't know. You have never thought there's something larger going on here? Well, yes, sure I have. Well, this is what's going on. I'm explaining it to you. Okay, I got it. So I guess I can just go out now and not kill anybody because I couldn't have done it anyway if they hadn't agreed. No, why would somebody do that ever? Unless you ask, you want to be killed? And even if the person says yes, you cannot do this because that person may be not in their mind. They are not answering consciously, so you cannot do this. You must have rationalism to think before you act this way, unless you do by impulse or reaction. Because unless you are a psychopath, you never kill nobody for the heck of it or in a cold murder, isn't it? So in fact, the human race acts their way. It's interesting that you are having such a hard time with this. Yet, you are going around acting as if it were true anyway. Or, worse yet, you are killing people against their will as if it didn't matter. Well, of course it matters. It's just that what we want matters more. Don't you get it? In the moment we human kill somebody, we are not saying that the fact that we have done that doesn't matter. Why? It would be flippant to think that. It is just that what we want matters more. But you cannot judge, dude. Take one girl, maybe a 15-year-old girl, 13, which happens here, this backward planet is raped, okay? She gets pregnant as a result of the rape. You think that is okay on because your religion tells her to keep that fetus for her to keep? She's in danger her own life by doing so. How many girls of 12 years old have been killed because they gave birth? And if she doesn't want to carry on that child, so what? I think that she have a right to. I don't know. Maybe in a spiritual way, would not be good for that sentient beings, but uh, in a earthly way, it will be better for that soul, for that girl, to terminate that pregnancy. But I do not. I'm not advocating or propagating the free killing of innocent babies, okay, of fetus, innocent babes. No, that's not correct. In fact, the human race act that way. Of course, you are killing people. Well, of course, it matters, just that we want matter. I see. So it's easy for you to accept that it's okay to kill others against their will. This you can do if impunity is do it because it's their will that you feel is wrong. I never say that. That's not how humans think. It isn't. Let me show you how hypocritical some of you are. You say it's okay to kill somebody against their will so long as you have a good and sufficient reason for wanting them dead. As in war, for instance, or in execution, or a doctor in the parking lot of an abortion clinic. Yet, if the other person feels they have a good and sufficient reason for wanting themselves dead, you may not help them die. That would be assisted suicide, and that would be wrong. Now he's talking about euthanasia, which is, for me, is hypocrisy to say that they cannot do it. It's wrong, morally wrong, it's religiously wrong, it's hypocritic, because you rather see that person suffer there. If that terminal disease, how about their dignity? They've been probing here and there, been poking around. They lose their dignity, especially so when they have no money to pay for that treatment. Oh, come on. You are making mock of me. No, you are making mock of me. You are saying that I would condemn your killing someone against his will, and that I would condemn your killing someone in accordance with his will. This is insane. Still, you do not fail to see the insanity. You actually claim that those who point out the insanity are the ones who are crazy. You are the ones who have your head on straight, and they are just troublemakers. You are the ones who have your head on straight, and they are just troublemakers. And this is the kind of tortured logic with which you constructed entire lives and complete theologies. I've never looked at it quite that way. I tell you this. The time has come for you to look at things a new way. This is the moment of your rebirth, as an individual and as a society. You must recreate your world now before you're destroyed with your insanities. Now listen to me, mister. We are all one. There is only one of us. You are not separate from me, and you are not separate from each other. Everything we are doing in concert with each other. Our reality is a co-created reality. If you terminate a pregnancy, we terminate a pregnancy. Your will is my will. Good answer. No individual aspect of divinity has power over any other aspect of divinity. It's not possible for one soul to affect another against its will. There are no victims and there are no violence. No, I don't agree with that. You cannot understand this from your limited perspective, but I'm telling you it's so. There is only one reason to be, do, or have anything, as a direct statement of who you are. If who you are as an individual and as a society is who you choose and decide to be, there is no reason to change anything. If, on the other hand, you believe there is a grander experience waiting to be had, an even greater expression of divinity than the one currently manifesting, then move into that truth. Since all of us are co-creating, it may serve us to do what we can to show others the way that some parts of us wish to go. You can be a way shower, demonstrating the life that you would like to create and inviting others to follow your example. You might even say, I am the life and the way, follow me. But be careful, some people have been crucified for making such statements. Thank you, I'll heed the warning, I'll keep a low profile. I can see that you are doing a real good job of that. Well, when you say you are having a conversation with God, it's not easy to keep a low profile, as others have discovered, which might be a good reason to keep my mouth shut. It's a little late for that. Well, whose fault is that? I see what you mean. Is it okay I forgive you? You do? Yes. How can you forgive me? Because I can understand why you did it. I understand why you came to me and started this dialogue. And when I understand why something was done, I can forgive all the complications that it may have caused or created. Now that's interesting. Would that you could think of God as being so magnificent as you? Toshe, you have an unusual relationship with me in some ways. You think you could never be as magnificent as me. In other ways, you think I cannot be as magnificent as you. Don't you find that interesting? Fascinating. It's because you think we are separated. This imaginings would leave you if you thought that we were one. This is the main difference between your culture, which is a baby culture, really a primitive culture, and the high level of the culture of the universe. The most significant difference is that in high level of the cultures, all sentient beings are clear that there is no separation between themselves and what you call God or the cosmos. They are also clear that there is no separation between themselves and others. They know that they are each have an individual experience of the whole. Oh good, now you are going to get into high level of the societies of the universe. Yes, I think it's time that we explore that. But before we do, I simply must return one last time to the abortion issue. You are not saying here that because nothing can happen to the human soul against its will, it's okay to kill people, are you? You are not condoning abortion or give us a way out on these issues, are you? I'm neither condoning nor condemning abortion any more than I condone or condemn war. The people of every country think I condone the war they are fighting and condemning the war that their opponent is fighting. The people of every nation believe they have God on their side. Every cause assumes the same thing. Indeed, every person feels the same thing, or at least hopes it is true whenever any decision or choice is made. And do you know why all creatures believe God is on their side? Because I am. And all creatures have an intuitive knowing of this. This is just another way of saying, your will for you is my will for you. And that is just another way of saying, I have given you a free will. There is no free will if to exercise it in certain ways produces punishment. That makes a mockery of free will and renders it counterfeit. So, with regard to abortion or war, buying the car or marrying that person, having sex or not having sex, do your duty or not doing your duty, there is no such thing as right or wrong, and I have no preference in the matter. Yeah, but there is repercussion, there is something as karma. You are all in the process of defining yourselves. Every act is an act of self-definition. If you are pleased with how you have created yourself, if it serves you, you will continue doing so in that way. If you are not, you will stop. This is called evolution. The process is slow because as you evolve, you keep changing your ideas about what really serves you. Yeah, that's true. You keep changing your concepts of pleasure. True. Remember what I said earlier. You can tell how high a person or society has evolved by what that being or society calls pleasure. And I will add here by what it declares to serve it. If it serves you to go to war and kill other beings, you will do so. If it serves you to terminate a pregnancy, you will do so. The only thing that changes as you evolve is your idea of what serves you, and that is based on what you think you are trying to do. If you are trying to get to Seattle, it will not serve you to head toward San Jose. It's not morally wrong to go to San Jose, it simply doesn't serve you. The question of what you are trying to do then becomes a question of prime importance, not just in your life in general, but in every moment of your life specifically. Because it is in the moments of life that a life itself is created. All of this was covered in a great detail in the beginning of our holy dialogue, which you have come to call Book 1. I'm repeating it here because you seem to need a reminder, or you'd never have asked me your question on abortion. When you are preparing to have your abortion, therefore, or when you are preparing to smoke that cigarette, or when you are prepared to fry and eat that animal, and when you are prepared to cut that man off in traffic, whether the matter is large or small, whether the choice is major or minor, there is only one question to consider. Is this who I really am? Is this who I now choose to be? And understand this, no matter is inconsequential, there is a consequence to everything, even if you don't unconsciously. The consequence is who and what you are. You are in the act of defining yourself right now. That is your answer to the abortion question. Yeah, because the person was done this in a moment of desperation or unconscious moment. She didn't know what she was doing, or she was out of desperation, and she thinks that she has the free will to do that because she doesn't want that pregnancy. She didn't ask for it at a highly conscious level. That is your answer to the war question. That is your answer to the smoking question. And the meat-eating question, and to every question about behavior you ever had. Every act is an act of self-definition. Everything you think, say, and do declares, this is who I am. And with this we end chapter 14. So there it is. People do what they do in an unconscious level, either by impulse, either by desperation, and given the model of the world in which they live in, and given their conditions. Nobody does nothing because they simply want to cause harm to someone, but there are cold-blooded crimes against children who are born and then murdered as soon as they have their 60 senses, because you don't have just 5 but 60 senses. What for? You carry your child to terms, you finish your pregnancy, you come to terms with your pregnancy, you give birth, just so not to protect that child and to batter that child, to deny them love, care, protection, food, dignity, and all the pleasure and all the fun that and love that child deserves. For what you bring them to this world for? Huh? Just to touch them slowly and create a cycle in the future? How many kids are battered to death either by father, mother, or stepmother or stepdaddy? How many are sexually abused? It's for this that you brought your child to terms? How many children are thrown inside a dustbin? Babies, newborn babies. How many kids are burned to death? How many kids are negated, denied their basic like food, care, hospitable house from which they could live in dignity? How many? Would it not better be terminating the fourth uh, week of gestation and your 4 weeks? Just take a tea and finish with your responsibility. Okay, you answer for that. Be it alien or whatever, you answer for this later. But if you are not prepared, why you bring child to the world for? Tell you when this happened during RAPE condition. For what? Why that girl would jeopardize her body? That 12-year-old sexually abused girl. For what should she bring that child to terms if she could die of a hemorrhage during childbirth? For what? Huh? Why should she keep that child that's not her? She didn't choose that child. She didn't want that child. She didn't ask for that. Some vermin came about. A devil sent person comes and abused her sexually. She got pregnant as a result. Why would she care that child, that seed, that evil seed, if she doesn't want to? In this case, I'm pro-abort, Better than, you see how many psychopaths are out. Better had an abortion. If we had abortion, there will be no criminal around. Isn't it? Huh? Is it not logical what I'm saying? Better have an abortion than it creates criminals, psychos, to give problem to society later on. But don't terminate until the 12 month ahead, with 3 months ahead. Don't terminate within the 36 weeks gestation. That's cruel. The baby is already well formed, already have his senses. But of course they can remember. How many of us can remember, able to remember when we were inside our mother's womb? Those who came forward, most of them are lying. Because our memory, as soon as we come out from our mother's womb, our memories are deleted of what happens there in the uterus and the womb. Okay? So you don't remember, you only remember in our 2-3 years that we come to remember, you know what is life. 2 years plus. Before that, we not quite remember that we even exist. Do you remember when you were 1 year old? Do you remember when you were 6 months old or 5 months old? No, you don't. We don't. We come to remembrance, we come to full senses when we reach the age of 4 years old above. Okay, but doesn't justify nothing hold a child of any age and then take away fetus. Take away his embryo. Fetus, fetus, because embryo is a maintained, fetus is another. Fetus is almost well formed. Embryo is still a lump of molecules, atoms being created inside that female womb. That womb, be a female or non-female, doesn't matter. Still in the process of becoming. So with that, I end this dialogue.